going on, everybody? This is Political Ideas and Thoughts, and I might not release this video today or at all, depending on a couple of things. So anyways, this video is about a controversial topic right now. It's about impeachment, Donald Trump's impeachment. But I'm going to be going at it from a different angle than the Democrats and the Republicans, because both sides are missing a very, very, very important issue here that is ignored, or that's just not seen because they're too wrapped up within their own bias of what this thing is. So I decided to make this video anyway because this is long overdue. And some of the things that I've talked about before on this channel about how impeachment would, divide the country even more turned out to be true. And now more people, according to some polls, now oppose impeachment. And so now, even if by some miracle that changes, the Republicans own the Senate. So even if somehow, things change, unless things change drastically, nothing's going to change. Donald Trump is going to be acquitted because more than half of the Senate is controlled by Republicans. So nothing is going to change. Donald Trump is going to be acquitted, and some actually valid reasons for impeaching Donald Trump, well, it'll be too late to do anything about them because, well, not that it would have mattered anyways, because one, the Republicans own the Senate, as I said. I think it's like 66 or 70 Republicans are in the Senate versus, however many Democrats. And so even if there would have been legitimate reasons for impeaching Donald Trump, which there are some, it wouldn't have mattered at all, because most of the Republicans are with Donald Trump, period, and there is tribalism there. But this particular video that I'm doing here isn't necessarily just about that. It's about something that's so obvious and so just disappointing to me that nobody else has really seen this. Very few people have seen this. That I'm surprised that it's been so ignored or just not seen. But I'm not really surprised, because this is something that I've talked about before on some of my podcasts about how bias works. But it's complicated. So in order to really get into what this video is about, I'm going to have to go over some facts of some actual facts that actual facts that are underpinning this whole impeachment thing. So basically, the facts are this: 1, Donald Trump called up a Ukrainian president and told him to do us a favor, though, in concern to Joe Biden. The Republicans, well, let's look into that, yeah. Fact number 2, $400 million were withheld. $400 million of aid were withheld from Ukraine. And we're going to get into some problems here, because there's been a sort of jump from these two things being related. Basically, there's been a leap to kind of relate these things together. So, fact number 3, Joe Biden did something virtually similar. He said, "You're not getting $1 billion worth of aid if you don't fire this prosecutor." Another part of this too is that fact 4 is that when it comes to the aid that was withheld from Ukraine by Donald Trump, the Ukrainian president Ukraine did not know this aid was withheld until a month after the call. This is a very important part. This not ignored. This that it's been ignored by most of the Democrats. So now let's get into the major problem concerning this trial, and that is that most of it is based on opinions and not actual facts. For instance, the opinion of the Democrats is that Trump held this aid because he was trying to get something. But you see, the thing is that in order to do this, you need evidence. They didn't give you any evidence. All they gave you was an opinion. They didn't question anybody about was Donald Trump, because basically what the argument is from the Democrats is that Donald Trump was trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. But never did they ever ask the question, was Donald Trump ever afraid of Joe Biden? Did he ever tell you that he was afraid of Joe Biden running? And there's actually been some information that's come up to suggest that this has been going on even further back. Basically 2018, before Biden said he was going to be running. So, if this is true, that if this is what they're claiming, if this is actually what they're claiming, that Donald Trump was digging dirt up on a political opponent. If this is true, is Donald Trump then now psychic? Now, if you want to argue that Donald Trump suspected that he could have been running, that Biden could have been running. The problem with this is that nobody was suspecting that Biden was going to be running. There were other candidates, other Democratic candidates who people knew was going to be running in the next election, particularly Bernie Sanders, who actually there was a leaked audio that Trump was more concerned about Bernie Sanders. Which isn't really that surprising to me, but and so basically what we have here are some contradictory evidence here. So, fact 1 and 2: Trump withheld $400 million from the Ukrainian government and the Democrats are claiming he did this because of the fact 2: he made a call to the Ukrainian president so that he could get investigations, ignoring the fact that the quotes in question were a very small part of the call itself. It was a very, very limited part of the conversation on the call. Ignoring all of that, the leap that is being made here is that the Democrats are saying that these two things are connected when they may not be at all, because Donald Trump, I'm sure Donald Trump has been withholding aid from all kinds of countries, because Donald Trump is a nationalist. He wants to protect America's interests. He doesn't want to give aid to other countries. So this is not unusual at all. In fact, I'd almost argue, in my personal opinion, that Donald Trump is actually doing this. He's withholding aid not because he's trying to get something, but because he isn't particularly out for America's interest, and he doesn't want to give aid to other countries. This is not the first time he's done this, and it probably won't be the last either. So, the Republicans' argument is equally as opinion based as the Democrats' argument that Trump was doing this for basically to smear Biden, to get dirt on Biden for the next election. So the Republicans' argument is that Donald Trump was trying to weed out corruption from Biden, because Biden withheld $1 billion of aid to Ukraine if they didn't fire a prosecutor. And the Democrats' rationalization here is that the reason why he did this is because of a corrupt prosecutor who, wouldn't prosecute Burisma. But the Republicans' argument is that Hunter Biden, who's not qualified to be in the job that he was in at Burisma, which is basically an energy company. And so basically what they're saying here is that once the prosecutor was looking into the case, it was an inactive case, which means that it was technically a case at the time. And so the argument from the Republicans is that Joe Biden was worried that his son was going to get prosecuted by this Ukrainian prosecutor. So he said, if you don't fire this prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. There's literally a video of Biden saying this. So the problem here is that both of these are not based on facts. None of these are based on facts. Okay, there are facts within these opinions, but they're not facts. These aren't backed up with evidence. And some people want to say, because some people say there's quid pro quo, there was testimony where people were saying this is quid pro quo. I don't care, because testimony witnesses are known to be unreliable. This was based on there's a couple of problems here. One is that witnesses are known to be unreliable. One, they forget things. Two, their memory is faulty. Three, they could be suggestive. Basically what this means is that you could have a loaded question that could go something like, let's say you're investigating a case involving a killer who killed a couple people or something. So, the questioner could ask a leading question that makes the person seem like he could be the killer, or makes the person answer the question in such a way, because of how the question is framed, that it makes him look like he was the killer, because he's giving information that was in the question. And so, and the other reason why I don't trust testimony or witnesses is because, well, there are a couple of other reasons. One is because this was overheard from a phone call that they weren't even participating in one case, and the other reason is because witnesses can be liars. I don't know how many times this whole thing about Trump's collusion with Russia came up. There are so many people who kept saying that this was happening. So many types of people. But the Mueller report ended up debunking this narrative. And so what we have here is one person's word over another. This is not about who is guilty, who's innocent. This is not about who's right, who's wrong. It's about what somebody else says or thinks over what somebody else says or thinks. Trump and his team are literally saying that Trump was fighting Biden's corruption. The Democrats don't believe it, and so they're saying that Trump was trying to dig up dirt on Biden. This is not about truth. This is not about law. This is about one person's opinion over another person. And so now you got two sides, and you know, I don't completely blame the Democrats here, because the Republicans are just as bad. They're just as tribal as Democrats. The Democrats are saying that Republicans are blocking witnesses and testimony. Trump is blocking witnesses and testimony, which is true. But the problem here is that the Democrats did the same thing in the House impeachment hearings. Literally did the same thing. So you're going to complain about the Republicans doing this, but your side has done the exact same thing? I'm sorry, this is not about truth or whatever you want to claim it's about. It's about what one person said over another person. And so now you're getting me angry here because I'm seeing here as the same thing over and over and over. Some Democratic congressman is now literally saying that you can't even trust people to vote in the ballot box for this 2020 election. They don't want him to cheat one more time. When did he cheat one more time? The collusion narrative has been debunked. The Mueller report debunked that the narrative that Trump was colluding with Russia. Now, I don't completely blame the Democrats or the Republicans here, because they're both wrong here. They're both missing the essential problem here. And Trump's not helping his case because he's blocking witnesses and testimony, but the Democrats did the same thing. And, the Democrats are saying that the reason why Trump is doing this is because he's corrupt. He's trying to cover up his crimes. But what I see here is what Trump has always done. He's always been, since the beginning of his run in 2015, he's always been against the Democrats, no matter what, for virtually every time. And this takes the form of all kinds of things. He calls the Democrats, do nothing, all kinds of names, shifty shift, do nothing Democrats, calls them dumb and stupid and all this stuff. So to say that Trump is covering up a crime is doubtful. What really seems to be happening here is Trump's usual attitude towards the Democrats. Trump has been saying for the last 3 years or so that the Russia narrative, the whole thing with the Russia, that he was colluding with Russia, has been a witch hunt. And I can't exactly tell him that he's wrong because a report just came out a month or so ago showing the FBI has been heavy-handed with the FISA abuses, particularly in regards to, for those who don't know what the FISA is, basically it's a place where you go to get warrants on people to survey them secretly. It's a secret court that nobody knows about. Nobody has oversight over this place, over this court. And so what we have here, in this case, like I said, the IG report that just came out a month ago showed that there were FBI abuses when it came to surveilling Carter Page. And so when Trump says that it's a witch hunt, that the FBI and all these agencies, it's a deep state conspiracy, against Donald Trump. While I think that it's an exaggeration, it's not completely wrong because the IG report literally shows this. Whether you want to say that it's a deep state conspiracy, though, that's another matter. But the problem here is that the Democrats have been looking for any excuse they could to impeach Donald Trump, literally before he even got into office. When he actually won the Electoral College vote, they said that Donald Trump should be impeached. The days that he started office, they said he should be impeached. Congress, the Democrats, have tried to impeach Donald Trump, 3 or 4 times before this, and the votes didn't go. They didn't go the Democrats' way because the Republicans owned the Congress at the time, both House and Senate, I think. But the Republicans, the defense lawyers are not helping things either, because they're very tribal here. They're probably very pro Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, there was one lawyer that was testifying on this impeachment thing who said that even if Donald Trump was guilty of quid pro quo, if it was in the case of national interest, it's not a good bad thing. It's just like, yeah, that's not really a good argument for your case here. You're not making things better here. So basically, my argument here is that this whole thing is not about law or justice. They can claim it is, and they can even believe that it's true. But what it really is one person's word over another. Oh, well, he says that's true. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. Oh, you want evidence of this? Oh, well, we have our word. That's not good enough? Oh, So, I mean, I'm being a little bit exaggeratory here, but it's not completely wrong to say that they're missing the point here. Both sides are missing the point. The point is that none of them are right. None of them are correct, because the whole thing is based on opinion. Virtually the whole thing is based on opinion, with a couple of facts mixed in that don't necessarily support their case in either direction, Republican or Democrat. And Republicans keep bringing up, there was one part of the trial where the defense lawyers for Trump were bringing up where Obama did something similar as well. Basically, when the election, the second election for Obama was happening, the Ukrainian president or the Ukraine wanted something to be done, but Obama said that it can't be done yet. We should have to wait until after the election. And they're claiming that's quid pro quo. That's not quid pro quo. I'm sorry, that's just not. And Republicans are blocking witnesses. I don't think that's right either. But to be honest, I don't think that having witnesses are going to change anything. Because, like I've talked about before, witnesses can lie, they can be wrong, their memories can be faulty. And these the loaded questions that I talked about. And also the fact that the Republicans own the Senate right now. So even if by some miracle all of the Republicans enough Republicans decide to remove Donald Trump, what's next? Is that going to fix anything? Is that going to bridge the divide? No, it's not going to bridge the divide. It's going to make the Republicans more angry. It's not going to fix anything at all. I mean, some people might say that, we'll get Donald Trump out of office for all the crimes that he's done. And there are actual things that they could have impeached him on that would have actually made more sense than this one. For instance, there was a story a couple months back where he was getting... there's a couple of other things that he could be impeached on, but basically, where one of them was where he was basically giving the Saudi Arabians a deal for his hotel, to stay in his hotel. And the argument is that because he was getting so many of these Saudi Arabians to go to his hotel, that maybe this could give him a conflict of interest when it comes to giving weapons, selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, which there could be an argument there. But instead of going with that, and this is my personal opinion, but instead of going with this, and the problem here too, before I go into that, really, the problem here isn't that, and I don't blame the Democrats here either necessarily, because the people who should know better, the journalists who should know better The journalists who are supposed to be objective sit there and tell you the opinion and say that it's fact, that this is actually true. I'm sorry, but it's not true. These journalists don't know what opinion is. Or if they do know, they're not saying it. And they claim to be objective. So, what we have here is, we have several problems here. And what this has to do with the impeachment thing is that a lot of these journalists are actually acting more like political pundits. If I'm talking about journalists that are on TV, on cable news shows, and particularly like MSNBC. They're not journalists. They're pundit. They're political pundits who claim to be journalists. And this is not necessarily based on anything, but this is just based on how they are, how they act. Literally, the whole thing with Covington Gate was started because people believed, journalists were telling people that this person, Nick Sandman or whatever his name was hounding this guy who was playing a drum, but it turned out to be the completely opposite. The drummer was hounding Nick Sandman, and so, and Nick ended up settling with, or CNN, I think it was, ended up settling with Nick and his lawyers, probably for millions, because of libel, because it turned out to be untrue. And these are journalists. This happens all of the time. Okay, I won't say all the time, but most of the time it seems to happen a lot more than it should happen. These people are supposed to be objective journalists, but they don't act objective. They don't do the work they're supposed to be doing. And so this is partly the result right here. What we're seeing right now is that impeachment is partly blame the journalists because they're not doing the objective journalism here. They're just telling you that this is true because of whatever reason it might be. And I don't necessarily blame the journalists either, but because the mind is very sneaky, very tricky, the way it handles things. Which is why I've started to stick away from politics to a large degree. Because this is what politics is. 99.999% of what politics is isn't actually based on truth or facts or anything like this, for the most part. It's based on who is right, who's wrong, who said this, who said that. Oh, this person said this. Oh, what did he do? Well, let's cancel him. The whole cancel culture thing is a good example of this. So I don't completely blame anyone here. I think the fault here goes to all sides, really. And the problem isn't that, there aren't things that Donald Trump could be impeached on. The problem is that even if now they try to impeach him on the legitimate things, it's too late. It's too late because, well, not just that it's too late, but it'll make no difference. The Republicans are going to acquit him anyways. And if you want to say that that's tribalism on the Republicans' part, and that's wrong, that's fine. I don't disagree. But the problem here is that tribalism happens on both sides here. One side is not innocent here. No side is innocent here. So where I was going with this was the Democrats are saying something and the Republicans are saying something else. And they're both saying that this is true. Well, both of them can't be true. One side has to be at least partly wrong here. And based on the facts that we have, all that they're giving us, both sides here, all that they're giving us is conjecture. All they're giving us is opinion. And the defense lawyers that are working with Trump have a very weak argument in some ways, because they're not actually telling you this. They're telling you what the Republicans have been spouting, the talking points of the Republicans for a long time now, for several months or whatever how long it's been. And so basically they're ignoring the most essential part here, which is that most of this trial isn't based on evidence. It's based on conjecture and a little bit of testimony that could be wrong. I'm pretty unusual because I don't trust testimony or witnesses, because witnesses are known to be unreliable. They're known, and it's not because they're necessarily liars. It's because memory is faulty. It's because memory can be falsified. It's not that complicated to do that. And the leading questions, this type of thing, can cause a witness to say something that's not necessarily true, but they think it's true because the question was leading, and it creates a memory in their heads. Memory is a very ephemeral thing. It's not as black and white as you would think it would be. Memory is very fallible, very prone to error, very prone to corruption. I don't mean corruption in the corruption of politicians sense, but corrupted in the sense of computer sense. So this is one of the biggest reasons why I don't necessarily take the words of people who are testifying seriously, because memory is very fallible. There could be leading questions, this type of problem. So anyways, rant over for now. Let's see how long it's been. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I figured it'd be about an hour. It's only like 32 minutes, which is not too bad. Anyways, I might release this video later. We'll see what happens, but this is political ideas and thoughts, and I'll talk to you on the next episode, or I'll talk to you in the next video if I have one.